In the dim glow of the alley's flickering streetlights, surrounded by pouring rain and the echo of hurried footsteps in the distance, Ethan Ward, a young English CEO known for his disciplined composure and strict routines, found himself kneeling on the cold, flooded pavement beside a woman he had never seen before, yet whose fragile condition instantly shattered the steel walls he'd built around his heart. The woman, a beautiful blonde in a soaked white blouse and black skirt, leaned helplessly against the brick wall, her breathing faint, her skin pale like moonlight drained of warmth, and her eyelids fluttering as though she was fighting a battle her exhausted body could no longer endure. Beside her stood a tiny girl, no older than 4, clutching a worn-out teddy bear to her chest, her little red dress clinging to her in the storm, her trembling lips whispering, "Sir?" "Mommy can't walk," words that stabbed Ethan deeper than the downpour seeping through his suit. He was a man who never stopped for anyone, whose life revolved around contracts, deadlines, and boardrooms, but in that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the fear in the little girl's blue eyes and the quiet suffering of the woman who, despite the rain battering her mercilessly, still leaned protectively toward her daughter even in unconsciousness. Ethan gently placed his hand on the woman's shoulder, feeling her shiver under his touch, and something inside him, something long buried, awoke, an instinct not of power or authority but of responsibility, compassion, and an unexplainable connection he couldn't name. The storm roared louder as thunder cracked overhead, and somewhere at the far end of the alley, a man sprinted past, his shadow darting across neon reflections, but Ethan didn't notice. His focus was entirely on the fragile mother before him and the small child who trusted him without hesitation. "What happened to your mom, sweetheart?" he asked softly, leaning closer so the rain wouldn't drown her answer. The little girl bit her lip, her tiny shoulders shaking. She tried to get food for me. She hasn't eaten. She said it's okay, that I needed more, and now she can't stand anymore." Ethan's throat tightened. He had seen poverty, but hearing it from a child's trembling lips felt like a knife twisting inside him. The woman's wrist was ice cold when he checked her pulse, weak, too weak, and he realized she hadn't just collapsed. She was starving, exhausted, dehydrated, overworked, and drowning in a life far harsher than anything he'd ever known behind his polished executive walls. Without another moment of hesitation, Ethan scooped her into his arms, stunned by how light she felt, as though life itself was slipping away from her. The girl stepped closer, scared but trusting, gripping his sleeve with her tiny fingers as the rain washed tears from her cheeks. "Don't worry," Ethan whispered, tightening his hold on the unconscious woman as he rose to his feet. "I'm taking both of you with me." The decision wasn't calculated, it wasn't strategic, it wasn't the action of the CEO the world knew. It was a promise born from something deeper, a vow sealed in the storm. He carried the woman through the alley, the girl clinging to his side, the storm raging like the universe was bearing witness to a moment that would change all their lives forever. As they reached the street, headlights from passing cars reflected off the puddles, creating streaks of gold and silver that framed the three of them like a scene in a story he never knew he was meant to be part of. The little girl kept glancing at her mother, fear tightening her tiny grip, and Ethan gently reassured her again and again. "She's going to be okay. I promise." But deep inside, he feared how close she had come to the edge, and the thought of losing a stranger he had met only minutes ago felt unbearably wrong, as though fate had thrown them into his path not by chance but by design. When he finally reached his car, sleek, warm, dry, a world away from the storm, he wrapped the girl in his jacket and laid the woman carefully across the back seat, brushing wet hair from her face, realizing she was even more breathtaking up close, even in weakness. As he drove them toward the nearest hospital, wipers fighting the violent rain, Ethan kept glancing at the rearview mirror, watching the girl lean her head on her mother's arm, whispering, "Mommy, wake up, please," and something inside him hardened into determination. He didn't know who they were, where they came from, or why life had beaten them so mercilessly, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty: he would not let this woman slip away, and he would not let this child suffer another night alone. For the first time in years, Ethan felt alive, not in the shallow way success used to make him feel, but in the deep way that comes only from caring for someone who needs you. And as the city lights blurred through the storm, he realized this night, this moment, these two strangers, would become the beginning of a story he never knew he was waiting for.